Hey everyone, going live today. You guys go ahead when you see this live, you can go ahead and comment. I don't know what's going on with Facebook right now because I'm jumping back and forth between Instagram and Facebook, and for whatever reason the version of live that I usually use for Facebook is not working right now. So I don't even know if I can see the comments, but if you do see this and you're watching right now, go ahead and leave a comment. I'll reply to it later. Instagram, you're good, I can see you. So for those of you who don't know, my name is RJ. I'm the creator of the Captivating Courtship Code, the Courtship Code podcast, and captivatingcourtship.com. And I specialize in helping women, particularly women who struggle with relationship anxiety, learn how to attract compatible partners, court towards commitment, and feel empowered while doing it. So today I wanted you guys to discuss with me. We're just going to discuss and share, and I'm going to talk a lot about the topic of relationship anxiety. And this is a topic that, one, is important to me because it's something that I experienced years ago, and I didn't even realize that it was an issue. And then it's also something that so many of the women who come to me for coaching and who join the Captivating Courtship Code coaching program, they experience relationship anxiety. And you might not even know if you're experiencing it. You might not be familiar with what it is. You're like, what is relationship anxiety? Like, I have anxiety already. But this is like specially geared towards relationships. It's specifically geared towards when you are either courting someone, dating someone, married to someone, just in some type of committed relationship with someone. But it's really when the anxiety overall flares up when it has to do with relationships. And there are different signs and different feelings that you're going to be experiencing, which I'm going to be talking about. But I wanted to zone in on that particular topic because this is something that comes up time and time again, and is super common with just about every single woman that I work with when it comes to coaching. So today we're going to be talking about different signs that you may be dealing with relationship anxiety, how to feel, what it looks like, how it's affecting you. We're also going to be talking about things that you can do to turn that around. Okay, so if you're joining this, if you catch it later, you can catch the replay. Make sure that you start it from the beginning. But I just want to jump into that. So what is relationship anxiety? So you may be experiencing relationship anxiety if, let's say, for example, you struggle a lot with trust, right? And this isn't just, a lot of people have trust issues, which that's a whole nother topic because you don't have to have trust issues when it comes to the opposite sex or relationships. But when that trust issue is like deeply flaring up, like in a way that you have a hard time losing sleep. If a person doesn't return your phone call or they don't return your text, you start getting these spiraling thoughts. You start thinking, oh, this person, maybe they're not being honest with me. Maybe they're lying. Maybe they don't like me anymore. Maybe they're doing something that that's deceptive or deceitful. Like, you just start, for no reason, you don't have any information to assume this, right? You have no background information. They haven't done anything to make you feel like they can't be trusted, but your mind instantly goes there, right? You might be dealing with relationship anxiety if you find yourself having a hard time focusing on work or other commitments that you have. It's an airplane going by. But work or other commitments that you may have. You may fall, this happens a lot of women, they will fall off of their game. Like, for example, let's say that you started working out, or you hang out with your friends a lot, or you have like these routines in your life. You just completely fall off of that because you're so distracted by the relationship. You're so distracted by trying to get this man's attention or trying to be with this man that you can't even think about anything else but this person, right? If you have a tendency to really like pursue and chase the relationship, if you feel like you got to make the relationship work, you got to make it happen, you have a hard time being fully present, you have a hard time just being in the moment, like you're so future focused, you're so worried about like if the relationship is going to work out or if it's going to lead into a deeper commitment or into marriage or whatever it is that you're trying to pursue, and you just can't shake those emotions, you just can't shake those feelings, right? It could turn into neediness, clinginess, right? When you just have to have this person's validation, you just have to have this person's attention, right? It could be these strong feelings. It can turn into anger, into combativeness, right? In a way that combativeness just isn't warranted at all anyway. But especially if you are feeling rejected, you're feeling like you're not being heard or like you're not being seen, you're feeling invalidated, and that's the triggered reaction, right? Or let's say that you are just like avoiding, right? I have some clients who, when they are dealing with their anxiety, when they're feeling stress and anxiety in relationships, they tend to avoid. So what does that look like? That could look like avoiding conversations because they're really fearful of expressing themselves, or fearful of this person walking away. They have the fear of abandonment, right? That's another way that the anxiety tends to flare up in courtship and relationships. You could have a deep need to control, right? So because you feel out of control of your emotions, you feel out of control of your thoughts, you feel like, I need to control this process. I need answers right now. I need it to happen right now, right? Or maybe you feel like, oh, let me just cut things off, because I do have clients who do that, where they're like, oh, I was feeling so anxious, I was feeling so nervous and overwhelmed by the relationship and overwhelmed by the process, so I just decided to just go ahead and just end it. Out the blue, for no reason. A lot of ghosters. It's funny because a lot of people focus on being ghosted, right? And working in like the relationship industry and working with people who especially deal with the relationship anxiety, what you see is both sides of the deal. So I deal with people who are frequently ghosted, and then I also have to work with those who tend to be ghosters. So it's definitely shifted my perspective and opened up my mind on why people ghost. Doesn't justify it, and I give them homework to do if they are ghosters. Like, look, you can't just be ghosting people, and you're going to get tired of the work that I make you do to stop ghosting people. So, we deal with that too. But some ghosters, like some people who ghost, it's not always ill-intentioned. Like, it's definitely not okay. It's not okay, and it really does have to do with some emotional immaturity, having a hard time expressing emotions. But for a lot of times, people who ghost because they really don't have the courage, or they really don't know how to say whatever it is that's on their mind, or whatever it is that they're feeling, or they feel embarrassed by their behavior, they feel embarrassed by their actions or lack thereof, and so the result is they just will ghost and disappear because they don't have the courage to face the person, right? They feel really anxious about even having the conversation. So there are lots of ways that relationship anxiety flares up in relationships, but the thing is that it's going to sabotage you time and time again. And I know that you're probably tired of feeling stressed out and anxious and all this pressure and just overwhelmed by the emotions and the thoughts. Like, you have a hard time controlling your thoughts. Those spiraling thoughts can really control you, right? Like, you're just laying in bed, or you're at work, or you're driving, and it starts off with one thought like, oh, they didn't call me today, or why haven't they texted back yet, or I wonder if they're being truthful. Maybe they don't really like me as much as they say they do. Maybe they're lying about something, right? Just out of the blue. You have nothing to base this upon. You're just coming up with these thoughts and these reasons, and then it starts off with the seed of doubt. It starts off with a question, and then it just spirals, and it gets bigger, and it gets bigger, and it gets bigger until you feel compelled to react. Now, that reaction could be all of a sudden you're super clingy and you need a bunch of attention. That reaction could be snapping out, right? Like, why didn't you do this? Or, I knew that you weren't serious. I know that you weren't you weren't being real with me. I know that you didn't really like me. Or, if you didn't want to talk to me, then you should have just let me know. And it's like, it's only been 2 hours, like, since they didn't text you or call you, since you sent the message. But that's your instant reaction. Or, you know what, let's just end this, because obviously you're not as serious. I get a lot of clients, especially when I was doing matchmaking. This was more so when I was doing matchmaking, which is like, thank goodness I'm not doing it anymore. But for a lot of the women that would come to me for matchmaking, when that anxiety would flare up, that control, or that feeling of rejection would kick in, right? They've only been talking to a guy for a couple days, a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most, right? And this anxiety would kick in because maybe they didn't hear from the guy for a day, or maybe they sent a text and they didn't get a reply back for a few hours, or whatever the situation is. And they would instantly kick in and send an angry text message like, look, I knew that you weren't, if you weren't serious about this, you could have just let me know. Let's just go ahead and end this right now. I'm just going to go ahead and shut it off. So they felt like if they just went ahead and did the dirty work for the guy, that they were taking control of the situation, right? That then they felt like some relief because, they were able to jump ahead. They were able to control. But really it was, you needed to control yourself. You had a hard time controlling your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions. You felt rejected for whatever reason. You felt rejected. For whatever reason you felt owed at that moment, which is fine, right? good manners to return someone's text or phone call in a timely manner, but things happen you don't know, and you're just in the beginning phases. Like, you're just getting to know this person. I'm not justifying like playing a game. I actually do not justify playing games, and I don't believe that it's okay to just leave people on read just for the sake of, like, what are you trying to accomplish? You know, if you want a relationship, if you're looking to be with a person, leaving people on read, like, that's not an accomplishment. But you also don't know, people have work, people have jobs, people have families, people have sleep, right? People have things to do. So everyone's not going to respond to you as quickly as you may want. We all like to feel like we're being seen and heard in a promptly manner, right? But it doesn't always work that way. But how you respond to that, right? How you react to that is really what's going to make the difference. And if you have a tendency to react, if you have a tendency to just shut down or get super clingy needy, another thing that a lot of women do, and they don't realize that they do this, is they lead to sexual behaviors when they feel like anxious and like they're not being validated and they need some attention, right? So that's when they do things to try to get the attention and focus on them, right? And that could be, you know, inappropriate pictures, it could be inappropriate sexting or anything like that in order to get some type of attention. So there are lots of ways that anxiety flares up, and the problem is, like I said, is sabotaging you. So it's going to stop you from being able to feel relaxed. It's going to stop you from being able to allow that man to lead the relationship or to pursue you. It's going to block you from being able to feel like the chooser, like you're also an active participant in this relationship. It's going to stop you from being able to set and keep your boundaries, because when you're anxious, you're definitely not going to be putting boundaries in place, right? So all these things are like going to block you from being able to move towards the relationship you have. And a lot of the times what I notice is, like, a lot of women, you know, and just keeping it real with you, a lot of women aren't making it even 3 months consistently of courting or dating or whatever, getting to know someone. Not even 3 months consistently. Like, a lot of times it's only lasting between 3 to 6 weeks. So I want you to really think about that from a long-term perspective. If you're a woman and you're saying, like, I want to get married, or I want to have a family one day, or I want to, you know, a committed relationship, like whatever your goal is, if you have been single for a long time and you aren't consistently making it past 3 or 6 weeks of consistently getting to know someone, let alone you're not even making it past 90 days of consistently courting and dating and getting to know someone, how are you going to be able to make it a full year, 2 years, 3 years? Like, you're having a very hard time getting past that stretch. And a lot of the women who come to me for coaching, when I ask them, like, what in the past 12 months or in the past 24 months, what has been your longest courtship? Rarely ever does a woman even say, like, oh, 6 months, 8 months. Oh, we were together for a year. Now, I do have some clients and some women in my in my group coaching program. They're like, I just came out of a 5-year relationship, or I just came out of an 8-year relationship. So definitely you have those, and they still struggle with a lot of these same behaviors. But for the other women who, the bulk of who come to me, they're like, oh, well, you know, it was just a couple conversations, or we just talked for like maybe about a month or something like that. So I want you to really dig into yourself and be honest with yourself. Like, if you have consistently only been talking to someone here or there, and I know, you know, you can talk to your friends, you can post on social media about how many men are sliding in your DM and all the men that are checking for you and all this, but I know that on average, most women are only seriously talking to 0 to 2 men a year. And when I say serious, I mean someone who's lasted longer than 2 months consistently. I'm not talking about the guy that calls once a week. I'm talking about consistently, like either talking on a daily basis or at least a few times a week, right? You guys are actually getting to know each other. You're actually bonding. I know that on average, and I know this from my years of matchmaking, I know this. You can say this story for everyone else. I know that on average, most women are only making it to the 60, 90-day mark, maybe 60 to 90-day mark, with 0 to 2 men a year. So if you are consistently meeting people, but you're not even making it 60 to 90 days, it takes about 90 days for a relationship to really start to like form. right? It takes a solid 90 days. Like, yeah, you might like this person. You might, you know, really start catching feelings for them, strongly attached. All that stuff is good, but it takes about 90 days for it to really start to form. And then after that is when you really start to see the true person. It's a relationship cycle. It's psychology that's behind it. So all of you, you know, that met and married in the first week, 2 weeks, whatever, that's all good. But it wasn't really like starting to really bond like that until about 90 days in. And then after that is when you start to really see who the person truly is. So it takes time, right? But if you're having a hard time making it past that 3-week, 6-week, 90-day period, and you're not consistently getting to know someone, consistently talking to someone, consistently building a relationship, being vulnerable, open up, getting to know someone, and you've only met maybe one person a year that you've experienced this with, or maybe 2, and then you take like these long stretches of time. Like most women, they'll say like, well, there's this one guy that I met about 8-9 months ago, and I haven't really talked to anybody much since then. You're going long stretches of time. And most of the women that I work with are women over 30. So when I'm talking, definitely talking to women who are over 30, over 40, right? Think about this. Once you get over 30, it's really about a numbers game. Like, you have to meet more people. You have to talk to more people. You don't have time to just be sitting, you know, just letting 8-9 months, a year go by and you haven't met one person. And I'm not saying, you know, you're old or anything like that. It's not even like that. It's that there are different factors that come into play once you're over 30 and you're trying to look for a partner. I mean, you're talking about family, you're talking about finances, you're talking about retirement. Like, it's a different game than it was in your 20s. So how you pursue relationships and how you make yourself available for it has to be different. It has to be different. But if you are feeling stressed and anxious and you either want to just avoid the whole process, or while you're getting to know someone, you have a hard time managing your emotions, you feel really emotionally triggered, you're reacting, you get really stressed out about the process, or really like feeling a lot of pressure for the relationship to work out, or you tend to really chase this man and, you know, you're trying to make it happen. You feel like you have to make it work, like it has to be the one, right? If you have all these different emotions going on and you're being honest and transparent about those spiraling thoughts and all these like yucky emotions that you're feeling on the inside, then you need to get a hold of this. And a lot of this is coming from either some emotional trauma that you may have experienced, whether it's like childhood experiences, different ways that you learn to cope. People tend to have either an anxious or a avoidant attachment style. You know, only about 50% of the world is securely attached. So you might have an anxious attachment style or an avoidant attachment style. So this was developed in early childhood. It could have come from you being rejected, from you being ghosted, from divorce, from breakups, from all these different situations where now you have this deep fear of abandonment. You have this deep disconnect with your trust and your intuition. So you feel really insecure, right? And you have a hard time communicating that, and you have a hard time feeling empowered when you're dating or in relationships. You have a hard time feeling confident. You don't really feel fully worthy. You don't feel good enough. So you result to a lot of these anxious behaviors. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to get really, really clear on who is for you and who's not. Like, let's start there, right? Because a lot of times you are getting stressed out and you're feeling anxious because you're trying to fit what is it called? A square peg into a round hole, right? You're trying to just make something work that just doesn't work, and it's just not going to work. So I need you, look at this. It's like keeps a little fringe right here. But I need you to get really clear on who's for you and who's not. The second thing is I need you to start really paying attention to when you're feeling triggered and why. Like, dig into that. Get super clear on when you're feeling triggered and why. Okay? And then I also want you to develop a system in order to manage that. Like, how are you going to, when you're feeling those emotions, because it takes time. Healing is an ongoing process. It does not happen overnight. And the way that you heal is to develop systems and protocols so that you are changing your patterns and understand how to move forward and shift the behavior and the thought process. And this is something that my coaching program addresses. This is something that we work with women on to help them to not only shift their patterns, shift their behaviors, but also understand how to manage it and how to show up differently. But I want you to work on those 3 things. If you do tend to feel anxious, and whether it's clingy or neediness or combativeness, or, you know, just the spiraling thoughts or pursuing and chasing and all those just yucky feelings that just takes you completely out of your feminine energy, completely out of your self-worth, and makes relationships and courtship just a burden and a hardship for you, I want you to do those 3 things. And I also want to invite you guys to join my completely free, 100% free Facebook group, the Captivating Courtship Code Facebook group. You can post, and look, girl, if you are feeling anxious, I would rather you post in the Facebook group and say, hey, I need some input, I need some insight, this is what's going on, before you press that send button, okay? Before you pick up and make the phone call, I'd rather you have a healthy space to express yourself and release that and get some insight before you do. But go ahead and join the free Captivating Courtship Code Facebook group. Now, if you don't answer the 3 questions before you enter the group, then I'm not going to let you in. I don't do that. You got to answer all 3 questions. But go ahead and join the free Captivating Courtship Code Facebook group. I post free resources and content in there. You have access to me as other women who are also in a group that's in the same space that you are. So there's no need to feel shame or embarrassment or anything else like that. But you can go ahead and join it on Facebook group. If you want the direct link, just send me a DM or comment below, and I'll go ahead and send you the DM. The link is also in my bio if you're watching on Instagram. But go ahead, join the free women's Facebook group, Captivating Courtship Code. And if you're listening to the podcast, thank you very much. Every single time someone books a discovery call or we chat in the inbox, so many times people say, I listen to your podcast, and that just warms my heart. So I appreciate that so much. So let's continue the conversation from the podcast and from anything else that you see me post in the free women's Facebook group, Captivating Courtship Code on Facebook. And if you guys are just joining in, go ahead and catch the replay, and I'll talk to you guys soon.